YouTube, Jake Andrews here with Blues Rock Guitar Lessons. I have been AWOL for the last few months, and there is a very good reason for that. I got this new baby angel, Isabel Andrews, and she has been taking up all my time. So instead of making free YouTube videos for you guys and gals, I have been changing poop diapers, making bottles, and getting up at ungodly hours in the middle of the night. So you'll have to excuse me for that, but please welcome me back to YouTube. I'm looking forward to getting back into it and making some badass content for all of you guitar players out there. And I've got a great video for you today, a great lesson video, especially for you beginners and intermediates, and also a crazy 60s music story to go along with it. Now also I wanted to say that this song, Sunshine of Your Love, one of the most recognizable, iconic, and frankly overplayed early blues rock songs from the 60s. And this song was written in 1967, recorded then, and was a huge hit in 1968. Now the story was that Jack Bruce, the bassist from Cream, heard Hendrix perform one of his early performances in London, probably in late '66. And he was so blown away by Hendrix's playing that he immediately went home after the gig and wrote this riff. And apparently the riff is something that he heard Hendrix play during that night. So Jimmy is indirectly responsible for Sunshine of Your Love. And of course, after it was released by Cream, Hendrix played it all the time in his set as well. Very cool story. Of course, Eric Clapton on guitar. And it's one of those songs that everybody wants to learn when they first start learning, especially blues and rock guitar playing. So let's get started. Okay, welcome in everybody. We are in the key of D, and we're working out of our first position minor pentatonic, so that means we are up here at the 10th fret in this box. And if you don't know that box pattern, you should. Of course, I can play it anywhere on the neck. That is really our starting foundational pattern for playing blues and rock lead guitar. Okay, so you really need to know that. And our main riff at the beginning, he's just playing the single note riff, the single strings. We're starting here on the D string, the 4th string, ring finger here at the 12th fret, and we're doubling this note up. Now we're going back a full step, same string, 1st finger, and then back to the root note. Okay, so we're going back to the flat 7. That's it. Now you're going to jump up to the 5th string right up here, and we're going to walk back these notes. We're going to walk from the 5 back to the 4. So 3rd, middle, 1st. And then what I like to think of is immediately when you touch this note, jump over and put your ring finger on the string right above it. So I go. Finally, we're going to reach back here on the 5th string, 2 boxes behind there. Pick that note and then come back to the low root. So now you can give a little bend here, get that. And that, my friends, is really it. That's the riff. Now, depending on what version you're hearing Cream do, the tempo might be all over the place. Sometimes it's played really fast. And sometimes you hear a live version where it's really dragged down. So play around with it, see if you want to play it fast or slow. It's going to sound great. Now on the original recording, he's really just doing that recognizable single note riff. He's just doing 2 rounds of it. And after that, he switches into the chord, which I'm about to show you. So really, he just does it twice there at the intro. Now, you might want to stretch it out and do it 4 times or more before the vocal starts. Now, when the vocal starts, he gets off of that single note riff and he turns it more into a chord. And this is where I hear a lot of people playing it with, I think, wrong. They're just doing a power chord. But really, if you listen to me, it sounds like he's doing this, not even a full bar chord shape, like a 7th chord shape. However, he's not really emphasizing the 7th note here. He's not really. He's just playing it really loosely, and really, to me, it sounds like just the E string, the A string, and the G string are ringing out. We're not even strumming the full chord. We're just emphasizing those 4 notes, those 4 strings. Okay, so that's how I've always played it. That's how I hear it. And it's pretty loose. You see, he even gets that bounce on there. Bop, 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 bop. I'm bouncing my fingers, but I'm not releasing them off the strings. So 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so like I said, this is like a 7th chord shape that comes from a full bar chord. But we're really not getting that full shape. All right, so now what he starts doing is, now we do the same walk back here on the 5th string. But then we fall into this. Okay, this is like the 4 over the 1. So my ring finger is dropping down, it's collapsing down and getting the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings right here. I'm just strumming those 3 strings. Okay. Now my first finger is coming over here on the G string, 3rd string, and that's the flat 3rd. And I'm just playing it by itself and getting a little bend on it. And then back to the root. So. And if you can put some vibrato on there, even better. Okay, so all together this part sounds like. Also, you see how I kind of slide into that. That sounds great. All right, so. There you go. So 4 rounds of that once the vocal starts. All right, 4 rounds of that. Now we're going to switch to the 4 chord change, which is G, okay? And here we're going to play bar chord G. So that's from our A shape. We're doing it here at the 10th fret. And once again, really, I'm just emphasizing the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string. However, my ring finger is flat all the way across. So I'm doing the same rhythm. I'm going from G back to F. G, G, F, G. Okay? And I'm doing the same riff from the intro, except everything's dropped down a string. So now I'm on the 4th string. And I'm going to jump my ring finger right above that to the 5th string, 4th string, 5th string. So. Again. And then back to the first riff twice. Now he does occasionally throw back in or a lick kind of like this. So I play this and I hit this note and hammer on and pull off here. So occasionally he goes. All right, good. So we've got the first riff here on D, 4 rounds of it. We drop down to the G, do 2 rounds of it here, and then back to the D and do it 2 rounds. At that point, we're going to the 5 chord change, which is an A. And the way I play it is down here, I play an open A. Great sounding rock chord. So I'm here at the 2nd fret and 1 finger. And once again, I'm just emphasizing the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string. And now the strumming pattern is a down, up, down. Okay, it sounds like, it's like da, da, da. The second 2 are rushed together. Da, 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 pause, pause. Now I come up to a C right here. And if you listen to the recording, he just strums this once and then to a G. Okay, so it's like all right, that sounds great. However, I like to use this same rhythm on the C and G. To me, that just sounds cool. So that's how I play it. I go Okay, you can make this a power chord like this. Just get those 3 strings on the G. Same thing on the C, I'm just emphasizing the 5th, 4th, and 3rd. And then same here. If you like, you could turn this more into a full G bar chord. All right, so 3 rounds of this like this. I've been waiting so long. Again. To be. So there at the end, we're coming back to A, and I'm really strumming it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All downstrokes, okay? Also, you might turn that into a full A like this. You might reach over and get your pinky here at the 5th fret on the 2nd and 1st string. That sounds great. In that case, I would be strumming from the 5th string down. And you can especially hear that at the outro on the song. So once again, da, 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 da. Now we're right back into the riff, and if you can, what sounds cool is to get onto that 7th chord shape and slide right into it, straight out of this A. So you see I get that little. Okay, so those are really all of the rhythm parts. I know I teased y'all a little bit with my Cream era Clapton lead playing. That's a lesson for another day, but I will give you one tip here. Clapton, especially during that era, is doing a lot of mixing of major and minor pentatonic, okay? His biggest influences from back then are Freddie King and B.B. King, in my opinion. And so a lot of mixing of major and minor. The easiest way to start doing that and getting that sound without really having to think about it is playing my minor 1st position pattern here at the 10th fret. Playing in there, and then using that same pattern for major pentatonic. That same pattern gets pushed to the back side, so now my pinky is on the D note, the D root. And so now the pattern would be back here. There's my root note now. So if you just start to switch back and forth between this same shape, we're just moving it, and this is minor, this is major, you can start to get that sound. I can play. And you can start to get a little bit of that Clapton sound. Okay, let's play it through slowly, and then we'll do a little faster tempo. Okay, so from the intro, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now let's do it a little up tempo, cranked up. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going, in the sunshine of your love. And there you go, Sunshine of Your Love. Now the story I want to tell you is one of my father's great music stories from the 60s. My father, John Toad Andrews, played with a group called Mother Earth all through the late 60s and 70s, but he played with many other bands through the years before that as well. And this story is from 1968. At the time he was living in LA, and he was playing with a group for the first part of that year called the Armadillo. Now the Armadillo was a group formed by Mike Nesmith of the Monkees. A good friend of my father's, Spider Price, who he had played in bands with here at UT in the early mid-60s, had gone to school with Mike Nesmith in San Antonio and had moved out there in the mid-60s to be a part of the Monkees TV show. He was a stand-in on the show. And he also worked on the crew with the Monkees when they went and did live shows. And on that note, he has many amazing stories of when Jimi Hendrix toured with the Monkees for a few weeks. And it turned out to be a disaster. However, Spider's stories of jamming and hanging out every night with Hendrix after the shows are just amazing. So cool. Those are stories for another day. Now, Mike Nesmith had told Spider he wanted to form a group on the side of all Texas musicians, and he wanted to name it the Armadillo. Mike was not in the band, but he was the manager and he was fronting the money for the band. So Spider called my father and another friend of theirs, Bob Arthur from Texas, and they moved out to LA and they started this band. They were doing 60s rock and roll and blues stuff and played gigs all over the LA area. And they would always end the night, the big grand finale, with Sunshine of Your Love. That was the big song at the time. So they're playing clubs around LA, and meanwhile, after a few months, they got word the Monkees TV show was going to be canceled. So really the money dried up. There was no more retainer for the band. And they had this final show they were going to do at this club in the Valley. They had played there a few times before, and this was going to be their final show. Now, my dad had grown up in the 50s loving chemistry and doing, chemistry experiments, reading Popular Mechanics at the time. He had his own chemistry lab set up in the basement. His father was a chemical engineer. He ended up studying chemical engineering at UT in the early 60s. And he loved doing all these experiments, especially with explosive stuff. That was what he really liked doing. Now, my father had the grand idea for the grand finale of getting this extremely explosive compound he knew how to make and setting it off on stage, making this huge explosion during the grand finale. And he actually went down to some chemical supply house there in LA and he got this mixture of ammonium, this, and zinc and something else, and he mixed it right in the proper proportions. Like he told me, he read about how to do this right there in Popular Mechanics. And this compound is totally inert, except if it's exposed to any moisture. The slightest bit of moisture will make it explode instantly. So my dad mixed this up and they came to the show. They had the whole crew ready and waiting. So at the final minute, they could load everything out. They had a big banner across the stage that says, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees welcomes the Armadillo. And they brought a 55-gallon drum with them and they put it on stage and they put that compound of chemicals down there in the bottom of this drum. Now, the way my dad tells it, this club they would play was full of hippies and people tripping on acid and Jesus freaks, as he calls them. That was the scene, okay? So you just have to picture this. 1968 in LA, the year before the Manson murders. So this is the scene there. Now, they play their whole show that night and they get to the final song, Sunshine of Your Love. And the 55-gallon drum had been placed right over next to the bassist, Bob Arthur. The plan was, at the big jam, the big finale on Sunshine, he was supposed to go over and spit into that drum, and that spit was supposedly going to instantly ignite this compound. All right, so they're playing the big jam at the end, the big final solo, and they nod for Bob. Bob walks over and he spits into that drum and nothing happens. Okay? So he steps back and they're playing. He's shrugging. I don't know. He goes back over to spit in it again. And right then my dad said, "Watch it, man." And he said this 12-foot green mushroom cloud exploded out of that drum. Okay, the zinc in this mixture made it green. This huge green cloud comes out of that drum, and within 30 seconds, the entire club is full of this poisonous, noxious ammonium gas, right? You can't see a thing, okay? And the way they tell it, all these Jesus freaks, these acid heads up front, they think it's the Armageddon. They think it's the second coming. They think it's the apocalypse. And they're down, prostrating themselves, bowing down, praying. Nobody knows what is going on. So the club is full of this poisonous gas. You can't see anything. Meanwhile, they open the back door, load out all the gear. The crew takes it out. The limo's waiting there for the band. And they grab their stuff and they're out of there within a minute. And they never heard anything from that club. They never heard anything else about it. So I don't know what these people thought happened, but they must have just been scratching their heads. Hopefully nobody was harmed. That's my take on it. Of course, this is not something you could do these days. So that's the story, the huge green mushroom cloud exploding in front of all the acid freaks, and while jamming on Sunshine of Your Love. Okay, my friends, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that lesson video and that crazy story. And if you would, please give the video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you get email notifications from me every time I put out some great content like this. And leave me some comments, let me know how you liked it and any other suggestions of songs you'd like me to teach. And I will see you in the next video lesson. Thank you so much. Say bye-bye, Isabel. All right.